welcome to a brand new episode of Happy Mum, Happy Baby, the podcast. I know I say this a lot, but I am very excited about today's guest. She is an actress, an author, a West End legend, I would say. She is a creative. She has a magical brain. She's also my sister-in-law and about to give birth to my niece. I can't wait. Today's guest is Carrie Hope Fletcher.
Hello, I feel like I'm behind the scenes.
To the chaos that goes on.
I love it.
Behind the episodes. Carrie, first of all, let's just say, how far along are you?
37 weeks yesterday, so full term now.
Oh my gosh, that's like any day now.
Yeah. I mean, the due window, that's what they call it, isn't it? Because due dates are sort of like quite arbitrary.
Yeah.
It's the due window where as soon as you're full term, it could be now until 42 weeks, anytime, any day. I hate the uncertainty of it. I don't like no structure. I don't like not having a schedule.
Yeah. And how are you with surprises in general?
Hate them. Do you know what? Actually, that's a lie. I hate it when someone says, I'm going to surprise you, but you've got to wait until your birthday. I'm like, I'm just going to sit here for the next however many months stewing, wondering what the surprise could be. But if someone's like, and surprise, and it's now, this is the surprise and it's happening, then I'm fine.
Yeah.
But it's the anticipation, it's the waiting. I'm a control freak, G. I don't like not having control over something.
Well, that's the thing. This is the ultimate kind of taking the control away from you.
This is a learning curve because I literally wake up every day going, could be today, but it might not be. And I've just got to sit through the agony of going, well, that's just another day where baby didn't arrive.
Carrie, we are going to go right back.
Okay.
I mean, I've known you since you were 10. Younger, actually. So, yeah, younger. So how would you describe your childhood?
Oh, God. I mean, to me, it felt quite normal. But then I know, like, looking in from the outside, it must have seemed bizarre.
Yeah.
Because my childhood was so theatrical, but it never felt out of the ordinary, because that's kind of just what I'd always known. Because
When you're surrounded by other kids that were doing it as well.
Yeah, and Tom went to Sylvia Young's and he's 7 years older than me. So by the time I came along, he was already kind of interested in performing and, music and musicals were always such a huge part of our family. I don't ever really remember wanting to do anything other than what I'm doing now, which, I feel very lucky because there are so many people who go through life just not knowing what they want to do with their lives. And I don't remember a time where I didn't know. There was a brief period where I wanted to be an archaeologist, but that was because of it, that was Indiana Jones. And I realised actually I just wanted to be an actor so one day I could pretend to be an archaeologist. But yeah, my childhood was like very, very theatrical, but to me it didn't feel weird. But I know to the kids at school, it was like, why does she get a day off to go and be in the French Revolution or to, have a magical flying car or a magical flying nanny? Why does she get to do those things and we don't? And it's weird and it's not that's not what normal kids do.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it was just like it was like the equivalent of kids going to like their piano lesson or their football match at the weekends. I just went to the theatre.
It's funny though, isn't it? Like we were touching it a little bit the other day when you came over for a roast at the weekend with your mum and dad and Joel. And we were talking about the fact that I feel like as kids, your mum and dad had obviously instilled something in both you and Tom where not anything is possible, but you can achieve. Nothing was off limits. And it's crazy. I don't know that Tom is slightly older, so that was kind of already in the wheels were already in motion. But your mum and dad aren't pushy parents.
They are the opposite of pushy parents.
They really are.
I still can't get them to sit anywhere further in the theatre than the back row. If I get them like press night tickets, if I by chance get some free tickets for a show and it's in the middle of the stalls, Mum will do her utmost to like duck down in her seat because she thinks if I see her at any given moment, I'm going to forget my lines or get really nervous or just like stop singing and just be like, "Hi, Mum." But yeah, they are the opposite of pushy parents. Mum especially. Yeah. Dad is a very proud dad. So if my mum goes to the loo in the theatre, by the time she's gotten back, Dad has told the people next to him that he's my dad. let people know that, you know, his daughter's the leading lady in the show and, you know, then wants to have a conversation about it. But that's as far as it goes. They will then like stand at stage door. Like sometimes they leave before, like they'll beat the crowds home, and I'll call them being like, are we coming home together? Are we getting the train together? You know, can I see you? And they're like, oh no, we're halfway home.
They're so unassuming. Do you know what I mean? They just, that's why I just find it really fascinating that two people that are like mum and dad have birthed and, you know, guided two children who have literally followed their dreams, their potential. And, you know, you both had knockbacks along the way, but something within you, it is within you. I believe that you're born with it, but it is then guided by your, you know, the people around you, your carers, your care providers. Something in you two just made you push that extra mile, which I just find fascinating.
I wonder if it's like their upbringing versus our upbringing. I wonder if it's, you know, because Dad, you know, is very musical, especially. Dad plays guitar, he sings, he used to have a band that would play around like YMCAs and pubs and clubs and stuff. And so I wonder if, because that was, you know, what Tom's doing now was at one point Dad's dream, and he didn't get to do it just because life, there were things in the way and there were obstacles that he had to, you know, would have had to have overcome that just weren't possible for him at the time when he was younger. So then him being able to do that for Tom then became his dream, you know what I mean? It then became about like encouraging that in your children that then allows you to sort of like explore that dream yourself.
Yeah. It's pretty magical. Magical. Have, like, over the years, did your mind ever wander to you as a mum and having your own family?
It was something that was always so far off in the distance that I never gave it any huge amount of thought.
Yeah, because you obviously, like, you are the youngest and there's an age gap and you're an amazing auntie. So for the last sort of 9-10 years, you've had nephews, you've had babies around, but has it always been that thing that's never really interested you?
No, I mean, it's interested me in the sense that I've always known I've wanted a family and I've wanted kids and I've wanted to be a mum. And I feel like within my friend group, I am the mum. I'm the one that holds all the passports. I'm the one that has everyone's tickets on my phone, and I won't let anyone else touch them. Like, no, you'll lose them. I'm in charge. And I am the mother of my friend group and always have been. My house has always been like everyone's sort of home away from home. I always have friends who like, oh, you're rehearsing in London. Oh, just come and stay with me because I'm home. I'll cook for us all. You know, I've always been the maternal figure in my friend group. But then obviously looking after adults is very different to looking after tiny human beings who can't even lift their own heads up. I feel like I'm discovering things for the first time that I think a lot of people, or a lot of, you know, people who give birth know from an earlier age because they take more of an active interest in it.
Right.
And because I'm sort of very new to this and really wanting motherhood, like within the last like 2 years, I feel like switches have been flipped in my brain that have just gone, oh my God, I want children so badly. All of a sudden I'm researching all of this stuff that I've just never ever come across before, and I'm like overloaded with information. And I've been thinking about exactly that question, like when did I know I wanted to be a mum? Has it always been like a serious want? Has it always been something that's just been like off in the distance and suddenly I'm like faced with it? But I keep coming back to this conversation that I had with my cousin, Joanne, when we were, I think we must have been like 10, maybe even younger than that. I think maybe even younger than that. And we were asked what we wanted to be when we were younger. And her first answer was a mum. I want to be a mum. And I remember thinking that was so weird because I had nothing in me that was like, no, I don't want to look after kids. Like, absolutely not. I want to be an actress. Like, I very much was very selfish and put myself and my wants first. And yeah, I keep coming back to that conversation because like, when did that change? Has it been like, I feel like it's been a very recent change, even though I've always known this is something that I've wanted. But it's always just been away in the distance.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a few like components to that. Obviously, age is a thing. Work-wise, you're very set now in, you know, you've really built up your career. People know who Carrie Hope Fletcher is. You're a leading lady. Partner, you know, even if you were to go down the sperm donation route, you know, that like, you know, but maybe before now you hadn't met the person that you wanted to have kids with. I think that's such a massive thing.
Yeah, I think Joel is the first person who has always been like, I want to be a dad.
Yeah.
I've never been with someone who has been so certain of that fact. And I think because all of my other relationships, I was young enough to go, oh, well, you know, we'll have that conversation another time. We don't have to have that conversation now because I'm not there yet either.
Also, going on the maternal thing, you are like that mothering role. I'm not saying that you mothered your boyfriends, but I'm not going to say that. But there was definitely, Joel is a different kettle of fish. Do you know what I mean? He knows who he is. He's grounded. He's settled.
Yeah.
There was a different energy maybe that came with him anyway. You didn't have to worry about him.
He's so driven and he's got such a get up and go mentality that, I feel like if I leave him alone, stuff's going to get done.
Yeah.
For our honeymoon, he had a full itinerary that he sent me 2 weeks before. A colour-coded itinerary. So, he's definitely got that sort of fathering, paternal energy. I've always said that Joel is a dad without kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is that dad energy, even down to a sense of humour.
Dad jokes already. So with you two, after you both knew that that's what you wanted to do, you wanted to be together forever, start a family. Did you have an idea of when you would like to go down that route? Because I know that when you did Caucasian Chalk Circle, it suddenly felt like you were very broody.
I was very broody. Very, very broody. And I think I was still very tentative because my career has been everything to me. Yeah. And the idea of putting that on hold for a potentially indefinite amount of time.
And that is such a massive thing. Like, how do you work out when's the right time to do it? Like, because you must always be looking around at, you know, new productions that are coming in, productions that are being rumoured and kind of going, oh, if I do have a family, then I'm out of that role that I've been longing to play, or it must be so hard.
Yeah, I was halfway through an audition process for something and I just got a recall for it. And then they moved the dates forward for the show, which meant that I was 100%, like my due date and their opening date were like 2 weeks apart. And I was like, it's just not going to happen. So I had to be the one, like, it's different if they say you're not right for the part. We just, you know, this is the end of your journey, because there's nothing you can do about that. But when you're the one going, this could have been a possibility and I could have played this role and that could have been, you know, the next year of my life, and I'm the one who's having to pull myself out of it. That was I did have a bit of a cry over that one.
Yeah, well, I get it's that shift though, right?
Yeah, it's a huge shift, a huge mental shift of, you know, putting something and someone else before you. But then at the same time, I was like, this is what I've chosen. This, I want this.
I know, but I think there's that thing where you're in an industry where you are trained to, you know, say yes in the room, say yes to everything. You can do everything, sort it out later. And you fight, and you literally have to fight for those roles consistently. And, you know, nothing is taken for granted. And I think it's such a big shift when you're suddenly having to go, okay, I'm going to stop doing that.
Yeah, and there is a mentality within the industry as well that if you aren't 150% in it and you aren't dedicated to work every hour that they are telling you to work, and, you know, if there's, you know, a doctor's appointment that you're not willing to rearrange, then you just don't want it enough and you're just not grateful for it enough. And I feel like that is shifting, because especially post-pandemic, everyone's saying that's just not a good enough way to live our lives anymore. There has to be a balance. So there is a shift, but it's not happening as quickly as I'm getting pregnant. It's not happening as quickly as this baby is growing. So
yeah, I can remember though, looking back, that when you did Caucasian Chalk Circle, there was, and it might be because you were holding a baby the whole time and it was a very maternal role. But that's the first time that I started hearing the fact that you were broody.
Yeah, and I think it was a very maternal role. I mean, the whole role is about a woman who is quite young but ends up looking after a tiny baby and seeing it through the first years of its life and then having it taken away from her. You know, it was a very deeply emotional role, and all I had was a teddy bear. and weirdly, and I stole the bear. I stole the bear, G. It's in my cabinet downstairs. Because I became so attached to it and I loved it so much, and I had to learn like some very minor like puppetry skills to make it come to life, to the point where I was like, I know my hands are moving this bear and yet I want to cry because it's so cute. But yeah, I feel like, and I had to have it in like a baby wearing sling for the whole show as well, and I feel like that does something to someone. Especially when you just met the person that you definitely know you want to spend the rest of your life with. You're like, ooh, oh, this is a new sensation.
And at that point, how, like, when you were bringing up that conversation of, right, when is the time? When did you both think would be the right time?
Well, I was convinced that it was going to take us ages to get pregnant, because that's all I've heard from people around me, that they've been trying for years, that, you know, they've had to, you know, go through different processes to get pregnant. They've had to start IVF. And I have no idea about my own fertility. Like, I've never had any tests done. I have not even really been to hospital. Like, being pregnant is the first time where I've had to have like regular visits to the hospital, and I hate it, if I'm totally honest with you. I hate going to the hospital. Turns out we are like the most fertile people on planet Earth.
Joel just looked at you, right? And it was like, bam!
Yeah, literally looked at me once. Baby in my belly.
Talk to me about finding out. Like, did you have any symptoms that made you go, ooh? Because obviously first month, you're kind of like, would you even dare to think that that might be a possibility?
I mean, I found out so early that I didn't even give my body any time to have any symptoms at all.
Right.
I think I was 4 weeks pregnant when I found out.
Right.
Like, that's nothing.
Were you on your own when you took it?
Stupid. I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I was on my own and didn't wait for Joel. Because again,
I
just
guess part
thought
of you
that,
just wasn't thinking it was going to be anything.
Yeah, I just thought that it was, this wasn't the time. And it was one of, I think the only test that I had in that bathroom was like one of the ones where just the line comes up. It wasn't like one of the fancy clear blue ones. So I quickly ran out to Tesco's to get like one of the fancy ones to you know, definitely make sure. I wanted the word. I didn't want the line. I wanted it to tell me.
I hate the line, especially now with the COVID sticks. I'm like, what?
I know, but you also convince yourself that you're seeing things.
Yeah.
You convince yourself that it's that's, and it was a very faint line as well, because it was so early.
Yeah.
So I was like, is that a line? I need the word. I need undeniable proof that it says pregnant.
And how did that feel when the word pregnant came up?
I laughed so loudly. It was an emotional moment when I then rang Joel. But I was so elated and just found it so funny that I thought this was going to be a long process. I was like, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. But Joel was the opposite. Joel definitely thought that we were just going to get pregnant straight away, and he was right. I don't regret not waiting though, because I feel like now with the way that everything has timed out, it kind of has been perfect.
And also, if anything was different, you'd have a different baby. There would be a different baby growing inside of you.
It honestly blows my mind, stuff like that. I can't think about stuff like that for too long, because I actually cannot wrap my head around that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be just the same baby a year down the line. Totally different set, of DNA and stuff. Crazy. Talk me through that phone call. Oh, and the fact that it's a phone call, so you were so...
Oh, no, wait. It was a FaceTime.
Okay.
And my favourite thing is that, because Joel's currently, he was in Hamilton at the time, so he was dressed as King George III. And he wears this very, very silly little wig, that little white curled wig. And that was the first thing he said. Because I texted him and said, are you on stage? Are you in your dressing room? Are you free? And I think he knew straight away, because I told him I was going to take a pregnancy test. So he was like, oh God, this is the phone call. This is it. So I FaceTimed him, and he was already like looking like expectant, like, and I said, I laughed and then cried. And he was like, oh my God, are you pregnant? I look like such a dick. He was like, this is not how I envisioned this conversation would go, that my wife is telling me that she's pregnant and I'm dressed as King George III. Oh, bless him.
Oh, was he mid-show then? Like, going out and doing the rest of the show, knowing that?
I think he was on cloud nine, and I think at that point he just wanted to get home. He just wanted to be with me, to like share the news.
Yeah.
And I was in the middle of rehearsing for the Crown Jewels as well. So I was in the middle of a a royal show too, and that rehearsal process was tough.
Yeah.
Going through a first trimester when you're it was the height of summer as well. It was like 32 degrees and we were in a room that had no aircon, wearing like corsets and like lots of layers. Oh, that was a tough rehearsal process.
Weren't you sick in the bin during rehearsals?
I was sick in the bin, yeah. Yeah, I managed to get through my song though. Ever the professional. I got through my song. I know.
Kicking in.
I know. Got through my song, sang the final note, and just ran to the bin and was violently sick in the bin, yeah.
So how early did you have to tell them, look, guys?
I mean, if that wasn't a giveaway, I had to sort of reassure everyone that I wasn't like distributing a bug around the cast, that I was just pregnant. So yeah, I told them all quite early on because I was feeling like the first trimester I found really difficult. I was really sick. Like I don't think I kept any. Well, no, it wasn't like I didn't keep anything down. I just couldn't get anything down. I was feeling so nauseous that the idea of eating anything was not the one. And yeah, because I was feeling so rough, I felt like I just needed a bit of support through rehearsals and tech. So I sort of let everyone know. And I was working with Mel Gedroich at the time, and my God, she was the perfect person to have on that job at that time, because she's such a maternal person as well. She's got 2 daughters and she's so maternal, so loving, so caring. And as soon as she found out that fruit was my craving, she'd turn up with a Pret fruit cup every day. She's amazing.
I love that. I love that so much. We were talking about timing earlier, and for you, so you had the Crown Jewels and then you had Panto straight after. Realising you were pregnant and knowing what that 9 months actually looked like, how did that feel?
Well, I'd said yes to Panto before I knew I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And I think when the conversation you have to have the conversation at 12 weeks with any producers, I think. And, you legally have to let people know that you are pregnant around then.
I guess it's a physical thing and you're going out. Yeah.
Yeah. And, costumes might have to be altered, and that's something that your team, the team around you have to know. But at 12 weeks, you're still at a point where you're not showing, you're not really growing, you're out of the morning sickness and you're starting to feel quite good again. So I was like, yeah, Panto, 13 shows a week, let's do it. Be fine. Can't be any more different than now, it'll be great. I was very wrong, G. I was very, very wrong. I was very optimistic. And I also, it's that classic thing of just not wanting to let people down. I didn't want to disappoint anyone. But I did also had convinced myself that it was just going to be fine, and it was fine. And I didn't miss a show of Panto, and it was great. But they were amazing. The Panto team that I was working with, I'd worked with them the year before, and they're just so chill about everything. They're really it's a well-oiled machine. They know what they're doing. They put a little chair for me in stage left, because the villain's always on stage left. So they put a little chair for me. And it's Panto. You're only on stage for what, sort of 15 minutes, 20 minutes for the entire show as the villain. So
finding out the gender. This was something that you really wanted to do. Again, you don't like surprises.
I don't like surprises. And also I just wanted to plan. I feel like it's quite a bonding thing. I felt like I knew that I would bond so much more with this little thing growing inside me if I knew what the gender was, what the sex was. So yeah, I really wanted to know, but classic me, I didn't want to wait until 20 weeks. I didn't want to wait for that scan. So I did one of those sneak peek blood tests.
Oh yeah.
Which is quite intense. When you get the kit through, it says everywhere on the box that anyone that doesn't share your chromosomes can touch the box. Even if you've got male pets, they have to be out of the room just in case it contaminates your blood sample.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's quite, and it says that in capital letters all over the box. And you have to, disinfect everything. It comes with nail scrubbers just in case. Wow. Just in case I'd touched Joel and got some of his DNA underneath my fingernails, or, really intense. And then, it was agony waiting for the test results. And one of the annoying things was, because I think they get sent off to a lab in America. So there's also a time difference. So they email you saying, in 12 hours, within the next 12 hours, we'll email your results. But within the next 12 hours is 6 a.m. So I stayed up until 1 o'clock in the morning and was like, right, I've got stuff to do tomorrow. I need to go to sleep. The email came through at 5 minutes past 1.
No!
Fuming. But I woke up at 6 o'clock the next day and saw the email. And I was like, how long can I leave it before I wake Joel up? It's 6 o'clock in the morning. We both have very busy days and we could both do with a bit more sleep. But I'm not going to go back to sleep now knowing that email sat there.
Did you just wake him up?
Yeah. I just elbowed him in the ribs and was like, the email's in. And it was really cute. It comes up with like a little video. And I look, I'm going to be honest. I had a preference. I really wanted a girl.
But also, we've got 3 boys.
I
know,
what I mean? I know. But I think I've just always envisioned myself with girls for some reason. And also my lovely friend Louise Pentland, she's got 2 daughters, and their relationship just makes my heart melt every time I see them. And I just wanted that. I was like, I really want that. And also because, you've got the 3 boys and, I'd love to see mum and dad interact with, a little granddaughter. Yeah. I just, not that I would have been disappointed had it been a boy at all. Yeah. But I was especially elated when it came up with the little, like, pink puff of cloud smoke on the screen. I was like, yay! And then cried for like 12 hours. But yeah. And it's been wonderful sort of saying that. I mean, her nursery is very beige. We've gone very, very beige for her nursery because it's so weird because I'm so sort of like against the like gender stereotypes, like the whole like
yeah.
I'm not going to dress her in pink. And
but that is so funny. That is just with the gender reveal thing, which is quite a new thing. I think that is just the way they differentiate. It's blue or it's
Yeah. But yeah, I felt like I've really bonded.
Really?
But saying that, do you know what's really weird? I had a dream last night that the baby was born and it was a boy and that everyone had got it wrong. That was my dream last night.
God, I love the crazy pregnancy dreams.
I gave birth to watermelon.
Did you?
Yeah, but not like a full watermelon, like a baby but made out of watermelon.
Wow.
Yeah.
So weird, isn't it?
Why?
So bizarre. How have you been feeling heading towards the birth? Was birth ever something that you considered before getting pregnant?
Yes. And I for some reason, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
Because it feels like a challenge and I love a challenge. And it's something that I've never done before. So it's something that my body's going to do that I've never, ever experienced. And I don't think you can replicate it or, go through something that's even sort of vaguely similar because it's so extreme and so, it's birth. It's like, it's such a huge thing.
Seeing your body do something completely new. It's never done before.
Yeah. And I'm also not scared of pain. I think I've got quite a high pain threshold. And saying this, you watch, I'll be like, give me all the drugs. But I feel like half the battle, again, saying this with zero experience, but I feel like half the battle is mental.
Yeah. And
going into it not feeling stressed and not feeling tense and, not sort of being scared of it.
Well, you've gone down the hypnobirthing route for a start.
I have, heavily inspired by UG because I remember you talking about it so much. And, you being... I remember wasn't your first birth like 2 paracetamol and 2 jelly babies?
Yeah, pretty much.
I want that. Yes, please. That sounds like the dream. I've done the Positive Birth Company with Siobhan Miller and loved it. And just, this, I've learned a lot that I definitely didn't know before. And I just love the calm approach to it. And that, this is something that people have been doing for millions of years. Like, people have been giving birth for forever.
Do you feel ready?
As ready as anyone can feel.
Yeah.
I feel like we are as prepared as any 2 people can be. I feel like we know what comes next, but I feel like you can't. I just don't think any amount of reading and researching can prepare you for the actual practical, like the actual practical lessons that I'm going to learn on the job.
Just be kind to yourself, I'd say, the first few weeks.
Yeah, I keep saying my word for the year is forgiveness. Like, I would just, I'm going to make mistakes. Joel's going to make mistakes. We're not going to know all of the answers. You know, things they're gonna go wrong. But as long as we're all okay, we just need to forgive ourselves and move on. It's like when you're in a show and you mess up a line. If you start focusing on the line that you messed up, you mess up 10 more. Whereas if you just acknowledge it, move on, and, you know, forgive yourself for that mistake and then just crack on, things will be okay. And I feel like that's sort of the same thing that I'm adopting for motherhood. Mistakes are going to happen. We acknowledge it. We figure out what went wrong, and then we just crack on.
Carrie, if you could write a letter on motherhood, who would it be to, and what would you say?
Oh, I think it would be to my mum, because we've only just started having conversations about motherhood. But I also think as a teenager, I was a very emotional, sensitive, quite secretive teenager as well. And I feel like that, you know, was really difficult for my parents to deal with, because I think it was also just the polar opposite to what I'd been like as a tiny child, as a toddler, and as like a younger teen. I was very outgoing when I was a younger child, and, you know, was always the one striking up conversations with people and just randomly chatting to, you know, whoever was around. And then I suddenly just retreated on myself and became the polar opposite. And my parents were like, what the hell? What's going on? Like, you're a totally different child now. And we've now got to like relearn everything about you that we thought we already knew. So yeah, I feel like my letter would be an apology letter to my mum.
But I love that. There's something about becoming a parent that makes you look at your own parents differently. You know, you see your mum and dad as younger people, as people that don't necessarily have all the answers, but are doing what they think is right.
Well, you suddenly see them as people.
Yeah.
Because you grow up thinking that they're the authority, therefore they must know everything. They have all of the answers. And for the most part, when you're younger, the questions you're asking, they do have the answers to. But then that just reinforces that belief that they really do know everything. So then when you get older and you start not only asking questions they don't have the answers to, but also disagreeing with their answers, you're suddenly like, oh, I don't know what to do now. And suddenly you feel maybe a little bit more on your own, and a little bit more sort of like you've got to figure stuff out for yourself for the first time. And then, of course, you get to being an adult and you're like, oh, no one knows anything any of the time.
Yeah.
Everyone's just making it up. Because I think even as a 21-year-old, I was sort of like, oh, when I'm 25, I'll have it figured out. Oh, when I'm 27, I'll have it figured out. And then you do sort of start going, oh, I'll never have it figured out. And that's okay, because no one else has it figured out either.
I'm going to give you the start of 3 sentences and you're going to finish them.
All right.
Okay. So the first one is, being a mum means
having an endless amount of forgiveness, not just for other people around you, but for yourself as well.
Since being pregnant, I
have a newfound respect for the human body.
And finally, I'm happy when?
God, I'm happy when I'm talking. I love talking, and I feel like the only way that I can unravel what's going on in my brain is if I say it.
Carrie Hope Fletcher, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I can't wait to touch base with you on the other side. I mean, obviously, we'll speak away from the podcast. But
isn't it weird to think that on the other side it could be in like 2 days' time?
I know.